So I've said over and over and over again, we are a spirit, lives in a body, created by God. You're born into a family who is not perfect. Perfect, unfortunately, not perfect. They should be, but they're not for whatever reason. And most of the time, they have not returned to the Father. Not most of the time, all the time. And so they're living in a fallen state. And as a child, it causes you to become that way. All right? You're not born that way unless you're born, your mother was really angry and carried on while she was pregnant and corrupt your spirit that way with anger, hatred, judgment. Hatred, anger, and judgment, all the same spirit. It's evil. And so you're born into this crazy family, and you hold on to your innocence as long as you can, but the moment you become angry at the parent or parents, you become like them. So in that very moment, you fall away from God, Satan become your daddy, and you take on his identity. And all the things that would bring harm to you, you start to do, because now you're disconnected from life. You have no love. So you start reaching out for other things to try to make you feel better, to get rid of your conflict. The sin is not the things that you do as a result of that. The sin is the hatred, the anger that caused you to become a child of Satan. And his nature, because you have developed his nature, because you have developed his nature, you start acting like him, hating, gossiping, judging, drug addicts, alcoholics. You influenced by the world around you, doubt and fear and worry and insecurity, caring about what others think about you, hating those who hate you. And then it's just all kind of mess, because that's the nature, the spiritual nature of Satan. So you are now in his world, and you become like him. All right? You can't help it. You become prostitutes and sluts and slut makers and all kind of stuff. Those things are not who you are. They are what you do. What you're doing, because you have the nature of Satan, and his nature is evil. No love at all. You hate your enemies, and you don't love anyone. You have no love, all hate. Even that emotional stuff you feel that you call love is still hate. And then you grow in life, and people tell you, oh, you're this, and you're that, you're a slut. You are a this or that, right? And then somehow or another you end up in a church and you become a so-called Christian. And it doesn't mean you've been born again, but you go down, you confess Jesus, and nothing changes. You feel better for a minute, but nothing changes. And yet you're doing all these horrible things in your own life and to your own self, and judging others and gossiping. There are men who gossip worse than women, because they have not overcome their women. And so, but they can't help it. All right? Once again, you are not those things that you have and are doing in that fallen state. You are a son or a daughter of Satan. You have his nature. You're an evil person. The heart is wicked. And so I encourage you to stop naming yourself that, oh, all those things, right? Just know you're in a fallen state. You have no love. You have an emptiness. You're trying to find peace. And you're reaching outside instead of the inside for that peace that is never going to happen. Money. Some people addicted to money, all kind of stuff. Fame. Because Satan is their daddy. But then some people, they get tired of living that way, not keeping the commandments, because you're not happy in that state of mind. So they try to overcome it. So they reach out for the Bible, they go to church, And some people, they look within and they forgive. That's what it means to repent. They stop hating their parents, themselves, and everyone. Now they have perfect love for all. The gossiping, they're trying to destroy, all that stuff disappear. And they have love because they're of God. They have the nature of the Father. He's giving you a brand new nature. So here's what happened, and the reason I bring this up. So last night, I'm at home and I'm sleeping like this. I've gone to bed, sleeping. All of a sudden, I get this phone call. Ring-a-ding-a-ding, ring-a-ding-a-ding. And I'm like, I finally answer. I'm like, hello? I'm like, hey, Jesse. Yeah? How you doing? All is well. I'm sleeping. We have an emergency, and we need your help. But we need you to FaceTime with us. And I'm like, really? What's wrong? Their adult child had tried to commit suicide. And she almost died, according to them, and when I talked to her. And this adult daughter had been working on getting her life together. She was trying to overcome that fallen state. She used to be a prostitute, a drug addict. Those are things she did because she was in that fallen state. And she hung out with some of the worst people in that same fallen state. But as she got older, she didn't want to live that way any longer. You know, she wanted to keep according to them and her, she wanted to keep the commandments. So she started going to church. She read the Bible. And then she heard it was said that she should forgive so that God can forgive her. And she went and dealt with her parents, and she forgave them. As most people do, she said it was harder with her mother than it was with her father, but she forgave, and her life started to change. And it started to change. She started to get better. And all of a sudden, she wasn't interested in doing those things that she used to do because she now has peace. She was developing peace. So her environment started to change. Her so-called friends started to change. And she was like living a life, you know, not a lot of people around anymore, not a lot of friends, but she was growing. She could tell that she was growing. But then her so-called drug addict friends and those people who, you know, into the sex stuff and all that, they started to talk about her, gossip about her. Oh, she thinks she's holy. She thinks she's better. And they were judging her. And she tried to avoid it, but Satan used that against her. And she started caring about what they thought of her. And when she cared about what they thought, she started to doubt herself, you know, to be angry at them. And once she believed into that, Satan took her down to a point that she tried to kill herself. And the friends who were gossiping about her were both male and female friends, and their lives are still messed up. They're drug addicts. She was telling me that some of them don't work. They're adults that don't work. And they have a horrible life, but they were talking about her. They didn't wish her well. They were talking about her, right? And she believed that. She started to resent them for that. And she tried to hang in there and not go with it, but Satan would feed her these ideas over and over again until he convinced her, you know what? It ain't going to work. You might as well kill yourself. And this woman's in her 30s. And she tried to kill herself. It was horrible. And so they called me up, and I'm talking to her and them. And I said to her, you know what? You got to forgive them. You got to forgive them. You have to pray for your enemy. those who gossip about you, whether they're men or women. You don't normally see men doing that because men is operating from love, but not in that fallen state. They tend to pray for you, reach out to help, not gossip. But in that fallen state, the men are acting like the women. I said, you got to pray for them. When people, your family members, your so-called friends, your co-workers or whatever, when they do you wrong like that or any kind of way, don't hate them back. Pray for them, wish them well. Because God said that you have to pray for your enemies, not hate your enemies. Because the moment you start hating, Satan become your daddy as well, and he can convince you to kill yourself. So I said to her, you know what? Don't make this a big deal. Learn from it. And forgive. They cannot help it. And don't worry about what the world think about you. Those who are thinking negative things about you, they're no good. Look at their own life. They are not looking at their lives. Their lives are horrible. I've never seen so many drug addicts and adult men and women who are still living at home and gossiping about other people and don't even see what they're doing. They're retarded people now, mentally ill people. They don't have their own mind. And I said, you got to forgive them, though. And then doubt every thought. God is with you. And if you are willing to suffer through that, you will see that God is with you. And from the pain, wisdom comes. Count it all joy when you're feeling the pain. Tribulations working patient in your life. They can't help it. And God is with you, and he will cause you to grow, and he will deal with the evil ones. Because what they're doing to you, they're doing it to themselves, really. They're not doing it to you. Only if you think that they're doing it to you, they're doing it to you. Only if you care what others think. So I told her, look, shake it off, learn from this, no big deal. Go back to your silent prayer, start to be aware of those thoughts, let them go, and you'll be fine. You need to be living. You don't need to be dying. And you definitely don't want to die with anger in your heart because you don't want to drop your body. You're not going where you think you're going if you die with anger in your heart. All right? So no big deal. All of God's children have to go through that. Christ went through it. Who are you that you shouldn't be lied about, gossiping about, or they try to hold you down because Satan is their daddy? They don't wish you well. And get rid of those friends. Have nothing to do with them because they're not friends. They're your enemies. You see now that they're your enemies pretending to be your friend. They were never your friend. I don't care if they're family members, whatever. Let them go and wish them well and go live your life. It doesn't matter what they say. And right away, folks, the light came on in her. And you could just see the unfolding of life coming in with her. All right? So my message to you about that, because this happened last night, I'm all sleepy right now because of it. I was up late. But it was worth it because she came alive again and she understands. She either has to be of what's right or be of what's wrong. You can't serve two gods. You only serve one. And if you're concerned about what others say about you, you're serving Satan because those are Satan's children. They have no love. I wouldn't have anything else to do with them. I told her, I'll be done. But don't hate them. Wish them well. Because the people that have love don't gossip. They don't listen to gossip, and they don't gossip because you have to be careful what you believe. Eve believed Satan, and Adam believed Eve and doubted his father, and look what happened. The woman believed Satan and doubted her husband. Look what happened. So you have to live by faith. It's really important what you believe. Doubt every thought, and you'll have faith. And so I want to say to you, don't hate those who hate you. Don't gossip about those who listen to gossip and gossip about you. Those people are miserable. They don't have a life. And Satan got to suck the life out of others to stay alive. And so he used people for that. But she's doing fine now. And she understands she got to move on. And be glad when you find out who these people are. Because there are a lot of people who are close, who seem to be close to you. They're really not your friend. Even some Christians who pretend to be, oh, I forgave, I'm free, I'm overcoming. They haven't. Because if they did, they would have love. They would never fall away from that. And so, using that situation to tell you this morning, don't care what other people think about you. Your relationship is with what was right. Seek the kingdom of God, and don't worry about a past or a future. It doesn't exist. It really doesn't. All right? All you have is now, and God is not, God doesn't care about all that stuff you were into in that fallen state. He cares about the heart. That's why he said, renew the heart, renew the mind. It's about the heart being born of the Spirit of God. It's about love. All right? And there are two realities, one inside of you and one on the outside. Let those people live out there and wish them well. But I wouldn't have anything to do with them, I told her. And she came alive. The parents couldn't believe it. Like, what the? Because she came back to the light and she dropped the anger. There is no past. There is no future. You once did alcohol. You once did prostitution. You once was a lesbian or homosexual, whatever. You weren't that. That's what you did in that fallen state with the nature of Satan. Now that you're overcoming that, you are a son or daughter of God. Now you are love. All right? You're not those things, and you never were, so stop judging yourself. You're either a son or a daughter of God. You can't be both. You can't go in and out. You're either one born of darkness, one born of the light. All right? So don't judge yourself, folks. And never mind what others think. You got to deal with evil. Evil is in other people. And sometimes evil is the closest person to you. Your fake friends or your fake family members or your fake brothers and sisters and uncles and cousins and co-workers and all that. But you got to forgive them. That doesn't mean you got to play with them, because now you know they're your enemy and they cannot be trusted. Satan's children cannot be trusted, but you cannot hate them. Discern, but don't hate. And don't ever let anyone gossip to you about anyone or you gossip. Satan is your daddy. And you'll find yourself keeping the 10 Commandments once you overcome, once you're born again, all right? So I wish her well. She's in her 30s, and she wants what's right. But you got to start doubting all thoughts. Because the children of Satan are going to be there. Some pretend to be Christians. Some pretend that, oh, I know the truth. They don't know the truth. They know about the truth, but they don't know it. All right? So you got to love. Love, in love, there is nothing you cannot overcome, no matter what it is. All things are possible when you return to the Father, because perfect love casts those things out. It was really interesting seeing what she was going through, and the parents were really taking it hard because they thought they were going to lose their daughter because she's overreacting to what people thought about her and say about her. You can't look at the president. If the president was concerned about what others said about him, he'd be dead already, meaning that he'd be out of it, would have no life. He'd be locked away somewhere in a room, living with mama, smoking dope. I used to be weak like that, but I don't care what anyone say or think about me at all. I love them. They don't need to love me. But when I was in a fallen state, oh, Lord. But not anymore, because I understand the evil battle. Evil people do evil things. I remember hearing or reading that Trump's older brother died of alcohol. He was an alcoholic. Really, folks, you cannot serve but one God. You have to become the light and be the example. When you become of the light, return to the light, you can't help but be an example. You rebuke those who are wrong. You don't go along with their wrongness. And you have grown men and women living at home with their parents, alcoholics and drug addicts and all this, and they talk about other people. What the? They can't help it. If they could help it, they would not do it. All right? So I wish her well. And I'm glad they woke me up because I was able to point her back to the kingdom of heaven within. And she was happy about that. I've seen that happen so many times over the years. God is with you. He really is, but you got to let the anger go. You got to repent. Amazing stuff.